6 tips for teaching English to complete beginners. Curious how to teach English to beginners? Think back to your childhood. Do you remember when an adult asked you something and you just stared open-mouthed? Not because you were trying to be rude or anything, because it was all gobbledygook to you. That's exactly how ESL beginners feel in a language classroom. If the teacher starts rambling in a language they don't understand, they will just get nervous and shut down. In your first English lesson for beginners, adults or otherwise, you don't want to scare the students. Put yourself in their shoes. How would you feel if some stranger starts saying weird stuff at you and expect you to reply in the same alien language? It's nerve-wracking and mortifying, to say the least. Why beginners are a little more challenging? Absolute beginners are a tough nut to crack because they have no previous knowledge of English. They will be coming to you raw because without knowing their ABCs, numbers, and common phrases like hello and goodbye, they won't know what nouns and adjectives are or how to form a sentence or question. On the other hand, false beginners think they know English because of past exposure. For instance, they have spent countless hours studying the language but can't hold an English conversation with a native speaker. It is up to you to diagnose your students' language proficiency levels and prepare teaching English to beginners materials that work on the basics before you get into anything more advanced. So first tip, keep it simple, stupid. This is one of the most important steps to teach English to beginners. Many newbie teachers make the mistake of using too much English when giving their students instructions, praise, or other feedback. For instance, saying, you guys know we are going to look at a new structure today, so let's get those textbooks out. In ESL, beginners lessons make you sound like you are from Mars. Instead, say something like this: take out your textbooks, okay? With a OK sign if it's culturally appropriate in the country you are teaching in. Gestures are super important and help beginners better understand even when the classroom English seems clear to you. This tip will save your life if you are teaching English to complete beginners. Second tip, always check for understanding. A rookie mistake many persons teaching English to complete beginners make is assuming that the students have understood the lesson or classroom instructions. In your first lesson for beginner, adults or kids, your students may not be accustomed to the Western way of schooling, where the students raise their hands if they don't understand. Instead, they may feel embarrassed to admit ignorance in front of the class and prefer to remain silent. When teaching beginners English, you need to read your students' body language to gauge whether they have understood and keep checking whether they have understood by asking, okay. Students will let you know directly or subtly whether they have got it or not. Third, give them lots of time to practice. In ESL beginner lessons, you cannot expect your students to get it immediately. You need to provide lots of examples, check for understanding, and then ensure that your class has enough time to practice what you have just taught them. When teaching beginners English, this usually means drilling the students, making them listen and repeat the language structure several times after you, and then having them practice it individually or with other students. Make sure to let them know that it is okay to mess up during practice time, so they don't feel pressure to be perfect in the first try. Fourth, show, don't tell. One of the steps to teach English to beginners is to show, not tell in the classroom. Students will better understand what you are trying to say if you use visual cues rather than spill a lot of words in their direction. What does this mean exactly? Instead of saying, let's learn the passive tense, practice how to teach basic English by giving clear examples of the target language structure with simple drawings, pictures, short skits, and exaggerated gestures. Fifth, always use positive reinforcement. Here's another one of the steps to teach English to beginners. If someone gives an incorrect answer, don't yell, you are wrong. Never ever embarrass the student in front of the entire classroom. You will scare him for her life and he or she will hate English forever because of you. Instead, try to create a friendly atmosphere in the classroom by praising your students often, even when they make mistakes. 6. Don't be boring. English teaching for beginners doesn't have to feel like pulling teeth. Instead, use lots of games to encourage your students to practice and produce the language you have taught. Also, incorporate your students' interests so they want to learn. For instance, don't use Garfield if they laugh. Hello Kitty. Also, nothing is more dull than making students read from the textbook and filling lame worksheets with lots of text and zero images. The sky is the limit regarding how to teach basic English. Troll the interwebs for awesome ideas that will keep your students engaged throughout the lesson. Thanks for watching.